Last weekend marked a significant change for so many people. It was a weekend that was a part of a number of experiences that just forever changed things. And so I wanted to take a few minutes to walk us through some things that I believe can really help us because many of us are having experiences and we aren't sure of what to do with them. And so let's shed a little light on this. The first question has to be what exactly happened. Some people were there, some watched online, some were not watching online, but you've had similar experiences. And so the one that I'm describing today is one where there was much prayer that led up to this experience that happened last Sunday. And there was a time where people were in their seats in the aisles near the stage, and there was just this crying. There's a time of standing there and knowing that the presence of God was just so present in that space. We've heard testimonies and stories of people online who are watching yet experiencing these significant breakthroughs. And both men and women, you see even teenagers in a space and they are experiencing God. And it's one of those moments where we even heard from some people, again, both men and women, who did not want to leave. They just wanted to stay in that space. They wanted to remain in his presence. And so I wanted to shed some light on this for us so we could steward it well as we go forward. Here's the first thing that I want to really get into is understanding that that experience, yes, so significant, it must be stewarded well after it happens. Meaning this is that many times we want our desires, but we don't want discipleship. We want our desires, but we don't want discipleship. We want to be set free. We want to be delivered. We want to be healed. I understand those things, but understand that there is a discipleship. There is a stewarding that comes after that. If not, we will be somewhat always chasing moments or chasing miracles or chasing encounters constantly, but our lives outside of that don't reflect the heart that is one that is constantly seeking after God. And so I want to share this with you. There's a couple of different things. One is this. It's in Matthew 13. I believe that the Word of God gives us direction, right? In Matthew 13, I'm gonna read this to you. I want you all to walk through this with me. In Matthew 13, it says, the words of Jesus. Hear then the parable of the sower. Matthew 13, this is verse number 18. It says, when anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what has been sown in his heart. This is what was sown along the path. As for what was sown on rocky ground, this is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no root in himself, but endures for a while. And when tribulation or persecution arises on account of the word, immediately he falls away. As for what was sown among thorns, this is the one who hears the word, but the cares of the world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and it proves unfruitful. As for what was sown on good soil, this is the one who hears the word and understands it. He indeed bears fruit and yields in one case 100-fold, in another 60, and in another 30. So the word of God is talking about how the word of God is sown and what happens when that word is sown into our hearts, the ground, the field, our garden, and how the enemy will try to come and even take it away. It needs substance. It needs roots to be able to be fruitful in order to produce these results, to bear fruit. So if this happens when it comes to the word of God, imagine what also happens with these encounters, these experiences that we are having with God. If you look at the Gospels, we will see that when Jesus, when he would teach and when he would heal and he would deliver and set people free, he oftentimes would give these instructions afterwards. What does that look and what does that sound like? He would say things like, arise, take up your bed and walk. That's action. He would say things like, go and sin no more. He would say these words that would give us further, go and show yourself to the priest. He would say these words that would give us instructions, come and follow me. All these things are really, really important for our growth to happen. So what do we practically begin to do when we are having these experiences? Because very likely that will not be the last one. Here are some very practical things that we must understand and begin to do. Is that many times after those experiences, understand that the enemy is not going to just leave you alone and just go away forever. Even after Jesus wins the battle, after his temptations, it says that the enemy leaves him until an opportune time. Understand that he's always coming back, but understand this, you don't have to be afraid. Okay? You don't have to be afraid because you already are not fighting for victory, but you are fighting from victory. So what we must understand and do is this understand that is one that's going to happen. He will always look for an access point. So number two is this, you have to make sure that you are filling that empty place. Okay? You are filling that empty place, and that comes with the Spirit of God. How do I begin to do this? Understand this. Your time of prayer has to be conditioned differently. In other words, it can't just be I'm praying before meals, I'm praying before I go to sleep or whatever. It has to be a conditioning of prayer, meaning that there is a repetition, there is a hungry, there is a desire to be close to him, saturated in prayer, spending time with him, getting up early or staying up late, depending on your work schedule or whatever the case may be, is the making of time to be alone with him. Because with his prayer, what we are doing is we are seeking his presence. Understand this. We are diligently seeking his presence, going after him, diligently seeking his presence, after his heart, to know him, to see him, right? With the time of prayer is also, I would highly recommend a time of fasting to seek him, to further purge our bodies and to purge our flesh. So when the enemy attempts to come, we are alert. We are watching and praying. We are staying vigilant. We are mindful of these things. It's so critical for us to operate in these areas. Here's the last part of this. I might have to do a part 2 of this. I don't know. You have comments, other questions, you can ask me in the comments. Here's the last part of this. Jesus goes away with Peter, John, and James to a mountain. And in the text, it says the Mount of Transfiguration. And he is transfigured before them. They see him like they've never seen him before. And Moses and Elijah appears. And the text says that Peter desires to remain in that place, to build something and to remain in that place. They're in this high moment, and he wants to remain in that place. It's interesting that Jesus does not allow them to remain in that place, but Jesus indeed leads them, the three of them, back down the mountain to be around the other disciples and to handle the dispute that's happening amongst the disciples with people who are frustrated with the other disciples. In other words, Jesus does not, he reveals himself in a way that says, this is a revealing moment, a transfiguring moment. Let me lead you as I lead you, as you follow me, even down from this experience. There are some things we have to steward well, because that moment wasn't the end goal. There will still be a crucifixion, a resurrection. Just like in your life, there's still more that you have to encounter. So that experience was pivotal for you to see God differently as he reveals himself. And then he now shows how to properly steward what we need in order to be able to move forward. He says this high moment, we don't just remain in this one location or this one space to experience this one thing. It happened there, but let me now lead you forward to now even navigate the everyday matters of life. Let me show you how to impact others. Let me show you what it means to grow in spiritual maturity. Let me show you what it means as a man to be able to be committed and to be consistent. Let me show you as a woman how to do those same things and how to function in what I've called you into. All these things are pivotal. So understand that our conditioning has to look different. Our endurance, our perseverance, it has to look different in order for us to be able to grow, because we want to grow in him. And that discipleship is pivotal. So it can't just be desires, no discipleship. It has to be true growth. It has to be true spiritual maturity. We have to walk into these things if we're really going to navigate these end times, these pivotal end times, in a way that honors God. I pray this helps you. I am praying with you. We love you, and may I do more of these.